Now, I want to play you guys a video. Okay, there's a lot of talk about standard when it comes to Arsenal. I spoke with Potsy earlier, and you just... Do you guys agree with this Arsenal take? Let's take a listen.
All right, let me ask you this. Would you rather win the Premier League or the Europa League?
I would rather win the Europa League. Because I
have the Premier League.
I got it already. Give me something that I don't got. What's wrong with you lot? Do you have a Europa League title? No. Do you have a Premier League title? Yes. Give me the Europa League. At least I got something in Europe.
You're the only fan. You're the only Arsenal fan in the world.
You're talking about standards, but what you really
Where are your standards?
What
Where are your standards? Bro, this is not Pokemon. We don't got to catch them all. Like, what are we doing? Get the best trophy possible. The Premier League and the Champions League are here. The Europa League, Conference League. And then everything else everything else below that.
Yeah, Yardman. I'd rather win the Premier League, bro. Surely you'd rather win the Premier League.
Of course, everyone would. Every single Arsenal fan in the world.
What I'm saying to you, listen to what I'm saying. I see 3 Premier League titles in the cabinet. Yeah, I've got no Europa League title. Don't tell me for the new millennium. I have none. And if you're saying to me right now, I would rather take the Europa League because I don't have it.
All right. Oh my god.
This respect to Yardman, respect to 12th man. I mean, this is... I don't even know. I mean, Standard FC have lost their way. I don't there's a few people on Standard FC I've heard in the last week talk about Carabao Cup being every bit as important. They're the same as a Champions League to them. It's a trophy. I just want to get your take on it, because I saw this today and I thought it was... I mean, I've got to say, fair play to Igal. It's maybe one of the best lines I've ever heard him come out with. It's not Pokemon. You haven't got to win them all. But did you ever think you'd see the day, Staffy, where somebody would rather win the Europa League than the Premier League?
There's so many angles that I want to attack this from. I just want you to imagine this. Imagine if the argument was flipped around. Igal wanted the Europa League and Yardman wanted the Premier League. I'm not trying to do the whole xenophobia thing, but that as there was people saying that match-going fans get it more than international fans or fans who watch at home. Yardman goes to games and he voluntarily opened his mouth and said, I'd rather win the Europa League than the Premier League. I meant to believe, never bring that argument to me again, by the way, that match-going fans get it more than internet fans, international fans, whatever on the list is at. This is a match-going fan. That's number one. Number two, I'll be honest, bro. It's one of two things. It's either a show or it's just pure stupidity. And it's up to him to decide. There is no way. Let me put this like, let me make an analogy. Imagine like you went to the club, all right? You're single. You went to the club. The baddest bitch in the club. She was like, oh, like I want to dance with you. Da-da-da-da-da. You got her a drink. You had a night with her. 10 out of 10, smoking. A week later, you're like, you know what? I got a 10 last week. Today I'm going to go for a 5 or a 6 or a 4. That is the same exact logic. The guy said, I won 3, which, by the way, that was over 20 years ago. So now he wants to go for the lesser trophy. Shout out to the gal. It is not Pokemon. You don't have to collect them all. Genuinely, there's no Real Madrid fan that wakes up and says, I'm trying to finish out the top 4 this year. Why? Well, I won too many Champions Leagues. I haven't won an Europa League since like the 70s, maybe. Can we please get out of top 4 because I'm trying to win one?
No, you know what Arsenal probably don't have? They probably don't have a championship. You know what? Screw it. Let's get relegated. Get relegated.
Exactly.
Go win the championship, because you've never seen a championship ever in your life. You've never seen 48 league games in your life.
You never aspire for less because you've never had less.
So do you know what's
if you're
interesting?
a millionaire, you're not going to be like, I want to give away my money because I haven't been broke in 20 years. Let me go and be broke. That is what the Europa League is. The Premier League
this is why.
The Premier League, next to the Champions League, it's one of the premium trophies that you can win every year. The best teams do not compete in the Europa League. The Europa League is somewhat of a salvage. That's how I look at it. I wasn't good last year. I finished outside the top 4. I'm being placed in the second tier level of the European competitions as a punishment of how bad I was. If I win it, sure, that's a sign of progression. But if I don't, I was there for a reason. The best elite teams don't compete in the Europa League. It's not an indicator of anything anyways. For him to say that over the Premier League, I told you, it's either rage bait or this guy just doesn't have a clue.
Well, I'm going to just say a few things here. Like, players want to be in the EPL or in La Liga as their two main destinations because they know being an integral player. And this is why I always push back on legacy arguments. Maybe Germany as well and Italy, they are big, but I still think deep down, maybe not for an Italian or for a German, but for people outside of that sphere, I think there is this element of people want to be in the biggest leagues because being integral in an Arsenal team or a Liverpool team or a Madrid team that wins those major trophies is massive. I think from my perspective, the first thing that came into my head was, can you imagine Yardman in the board meeting at Arsenal? They just clenched the Champions League. They win it this season. The most historic moment in their club's history. They win the pinnacle of European football for the first time. And they're sitting down and they're talking about parades and they're talking about the transfer window and statues and legacy and who they're inviting. And Yardman says, but before we forget, can we apply to Europe to not be re-entered into the Champions League next year? Let's go for Europa League and complete the set. That is something that would never, ever be uttered. But that's essentially what he'd be asking for. Because if he would rather a Europa League over a Premier League, I get he wouldn't want a Europa League over a Champions League because the Champions League is bigger than the Europa League and he hasn't got that either. But what is he saying? Once he wins the Champions League, he wouldn't want to be back in it to win it a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth time. And there's a couple of comments I want to bring up here. Dan's back. I want to bring these comments up first because I think they could be very true. Soul says he's not thinking straight. He's only thinking about banter. This is a distinct possibility because you know what you get a lot on social media. You get a lot on. I don't know what's happening with Dan's computer. What you're getting a lot when it comes to social media at the moment is this. Like Chelsea fan did it last year, buzzing. We completed the European set, and there is truth in that. The issue is, don't fall for the banter because every Chelsea fan who came on our match reaction, and I've got to respect every one of them, nearly every super chatter, and I'm not going to name all of you, but DJ, Blaze, we have Dyke, there's Daniel, so many fans. If he drops out again, just leave us in the same position, KJ, because all the movements make me feel a bit ill. They all came on and said, happy we won it, but I never, ever, 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 ever want to be in it again. Mm-hmm. So if you are falling for the banter of other clubs saying that we've won every single trophy, don't. This is the end of it for me. If someone said to me now, you're never going to win a Europa League again in the next 30 years, but you'll win 3 Champions Leagues in that time, or you'll win no Champions Leagues in the next 20 years, but you'll win 15 Europa Leagues, I'm picking the 3 Champions Leagues because they're the pinnacle. They're the absolute pinnacle of the game when you're at that level. Now, I know someone will go and tell me, you said football isn't only about winning trophies. It isn't. It isn't. There's loads of other elements to this game that are important. But if you're in a conversation about winning trophies, that is where we sit. The other comment is interesting. It's Yardman is setting up his argument for the possibility Arsenal win the Premier League. So he can say Arteta is still not good enough because he didn't win a European trophy. And I think there might be an element of truth in this as well, of the can being kicked down the road to go, yes, but we already have. All he's done is won us what we've won before. Where's the progression by winning us trophies we've never won? That could be the next argument for the Arteta outers. That is a great point.
It's getting a bit crazy now because wanting to be in the Europa League for someone who says standards are the most important makes no sense because that means you have to then drop down your performance levels from now winning the Premier League to being a 6th place, 7th place team. So that goes against your standards. And then you have to start the process all over again of potentially winning it. And then if you don't win that, then you're like, oh, but we should be challenging for the Premier League because that's where we was before. We look how far we've fallen. We can't even win the Europa League now. So it just doesn't stack up of things that you want to do. It doesn't make no sense. And the whole thing of, oh, we need to complete the set, give me things I've never seen before. That only works if you're playing FM or if you're playing FIFA and you've got a team like Salford City and you take them from League 2 all the way up to the Premier League. You on the way, you collect every single trophy that you can win. That's a great story. But if we're going to be honest, at the elite sport, no one cares. Do you think Real Madrid cares that they've never won the Europa League? No. Look,
I agree.
The record number of Champions Leagues.
I agree. I do think there's a comment here as well. It says there's such a strong divide, all because of a Basque man. And I do think a lot of this is to do with Arteta, if I'm being honest. And I don't even mean this as a negative towards Mikel Arteta. I do think so much of that previous comment, I think, is so right along the lines of, is there a, because I've said it all along, haven't I? I've said it all along that the Arteta out debate won't end with him winning a major trophy. It'll be kicked down the road to, but it's only one major trophy in 6 years. I still don't think it will go away. I don't think all these Arteta outers will hold their hands up and go, we were just wrong. He is an elite manager. He's given us something great. Let's get behind it now to hopefully win more. It will be a case, and it's an interesting conversation to a certain degree, but I saw this, and listen, I've invited Yardman on the Football Terrace. I'd love to sit, just me and him, on one of these shows with the special straight facts. I want to understand his ideology. I want to have a conversation. I'd rather do it me and him, so there wasn't too many people jumping in, because it's not about trying to catch him out. It's not about ganging up on him. I'm so actually intrigued with the way his football mind works, in terms of, I won't celebrate games that where we're not winning trophies. I need to speak to him, because for me, it seems the opposite of the standards that people like himself push and promote, to want to win a second tier trophy over potentially consistently winning the top tier trophies. Just it doesn't compute with me as a football fan in the perspective of a trophy conversation.
What I'd want to ask Arteta outers is, what do you like about Arteta? And exclude, he hasn't won a trophy since the FA Cup. Exclude that, okay? Because we know you want trophies, right? Everyone wants trophies. Exclude that. Other than that, what is it about Arteta that don't they like? Because it sounds very personal. So it's kind of like, what has he done wrong, in your opinion, for you to hold this thing? Because if Ruben Amorim, like, listen, Staffy's there. I know, I'll use Staffy an example. If Ruben Amorim got us into title challenging year after year, playing decent enough football to get us into that position, I don't think Staffy would just be like, yeah, I just want him gone because X, Y, and Z. Like, that's what I'm
down
feeling.
to that, KJ.
Yeah,
You exactly nailed on the head there. I think football has become, and I try to stay away from that, because sometimes I feel like I get sucked into it. It just becomes of, you said that, the opposite is happening right now. You were wrong, stay on that side. And I've faced it on both sides, because I was Emery in, and while we were losing, people were like, stay on that side, don't go Emery out now. And then when I was like, you know what, I think I've seen enough that I can make up with my own mind, outside of influence of everyone else, that I don't think is going to work out with this manager. Now I want him gone. Now you had the outers saying, no, stay in. And then when we won a couple games, people were like, don't celebrate these 3 wins in a row. You went Emery out, stay on that side. So I was basically getting caught by both. And it just comes down to people not wanting to be wrong. I generally couldn't give a shit if someone thinks I was wrong on an opinion. I want nothing more than a manager who I think is not doing something to go the next game and be like, oh, you know what? The fans, you know how Arteta joked and said, oh, here's the handbrake, whatever it is, and then they start winning games. I'd love nothing more than that, than a manager say, I was doing this wrong. Look how I'm going to play the next few games. And they start doing everything we were criticizing for. I will be so happy, because I'll be like, hold on. Now I don't actually have to replace you, because you stopped being stubborn. And now you're doing the things that you think will improve the team. Now we're happy. People are so caught up.
look at Andas here.
Look at the characters, KJ. Like, everyone just looks at characters now online.
No, I agree.
Think, like, I can't be caught flip-flopping. I must be proven right. And if a manager does something that I said he doesn't do, I'm still going to find something else. And I think that's essentially what it is. They could win the Premier League, and Yardman is going to be like, but all these years we were in the Europa League, we didn't win one. We've never won one. Therefore, you still haven't completed what I want.
And you know what's crazy, though? This is the maddest bit. And this is why I want to talk to him, because I haven't watched the whole. I've only seen the clip. I actually spoke to Potsy today. For some context, but what I really want to ask him, and obviously Dan's with us now, and Dan was on with him, is, but to qualify for next season's Europa League, they'd have to probably they'd have to come 6th in the Premier League. Yep. So this would now be my question to Yardman. If you're watching it, Yardman, if you want to jump on, please jump on. My question is, your logic dictates that if you start losing games and drop into 6th place, you should therefore be happy, because it will give you the opportunity next season to win the trophy you want the most. I get the feeling if you start losing games, you're going to kick off and have a go at the manager. And that's the bit, that's the element that I'm calling out as I don't understand. because I feel that what you're essentially doing is you're burning the candle at both ends, and it's the case of whatever happens, I'm going to get to have a go at this manager. What was your